Most people assume relationships end because of big, dramatic arguments. Welcome to emotional shadow betrayals, or sudden emotional explosions. But the real truth is far more unsettling. What if the greatest danger to your connection isn't anything loud or obvious, but something so quiet, so subtle, that most couples never notice it until the damage is already irreversible? What if the destruction of love happens not through conflict, but through silence, avoidance, and the small emotional withdrawals we excuse every day? There's a hidden force operating beneath the surface of nearly every failing relationship, and once you see what it is, you'll never unsee it again. To understand this silent sabotage, we have to go back to the foundations of relationship psychology. Experts like John Gottman, Esther Perel, and pioneers of attachment theory uncovered patterns that most people never recognize until they're already living them. Gottman famously predicted divorce with over 90% accuracy, not by studying major fights, but by examining tiny emotional cues, micro-expressions, tone shifts, pauses, and the way partners turn away instead of toward each other during ordinary moments. These findings shook the world because they challenged the belief that relationships break from the outside. Instead, they often erode from the inside, quietly, invisibly, through what psychologists call, and what makes them dangerous is that they feel normal. They feel harmless. They feel too small to matter, until they matter more than anything else. The origins of this issue lie in childhood conditioning and early relational experiences. Many people grow up learning to suppress emotions, to stay safe, staying quiet, to avoid conflict, withdrawing to avoid punishment, or pretending not to care to avoid pain. These survival strategies follow us into adulthood, forming emotional habits we don't even know we're using. And when these habits meet the intimacy of a real relationship, they transform into invisible sabotage. The partner who avoids discomfort stops communicating honestly. The partner who fears conflict becomes agreeable but resentful. The partner who fears abandonment becomes overly cautious, walking on emotional eggshells. And slowly, intimacy begins to suffocate, not from a lack of love, but from the lack of emotional presence. As time passes, these micro-withdrawals grow stronger. What started as avoiding a difficult conversation becomes avoiding any conversation that might feel deep. What started as withholding a small feeling becomes withholding entire emotional truths. What started as a minor annoyance becomes a secret resentment. The rise of the issue is quiet, but powerful. Couples begin losing the ability to read each other, not because they reincompatibly, but because they stop engaging authentically. Communication becomes more polite and less honest. Interactions become more predictable and less vulnerable. The relationship becomes functional but emotionally hollow too. People sharing a life, but no longer sharing themselves. Eventually, a breaking point emerges. It may not look dramatic sometimes. It isn't even spoken out loud, but it marks the moment where disconnect turns into damage. One partner feels unheard. The other feels unappreciated. One pulls back for safety. The other pulls back in response. And like two magnets losing their charge, emotional distance expands silently between them. The fallout isn't immediate, it's gradual. Conversations grow shorter. Confessions grow rarer. Moments that once felt intimate begin to feel transactional. Conflicts seem pointless or exhausting, so both stop trying to solve them. The connection begins to dissolve, not with a bang, but with a whisper. The consequences on emotional intimacy are severe. Humans bond through vulnerability, not perfection. And when vulnerability disappears, love becomes fragile. Without emotional openness, couples lose trust. And without trust, they lose closeness. Feelings become guarded, thoughts become censored, needs go unspoken. The relationship becomes a quiet negotiation of who will speak less, who will care less, who will reveal less. And the tragedy lies in this. Both partners often still care deeply. They're just trapped behind walls they never realized they built. Even attempts to fix these problems often fail because people try to repair the surface rather than the root. They buy gifts, plan outings, or pretend everything is fine, hoping affection will magically replace emotional disconnect. Others try to talk but do so defensively, guardedly, or with rehearsed lines instead of genuine expression. Some wait for the perfect moment to open up, but never find it, and many simply hope time will heal things that only communication can repair. These attempts create temporary peace but long-term distance, reinforcing the cycle of emotional silence. Modern relationships face an even greater challenge: technology, distraction, and constant stimulation amplify Studies show that couples today talk less, share less, and emotionally attune to each other far less than couples from earlier generations. A single glance at a phone during a conversation can lower feelings of emotional closeness. A delayed response to a message can spark insecurity. A lack of eye contact during a difficult moment can turn a partner's emotional bid into a rejection. These small, repeated moments accumulate, and suddenly the relationship feels cold for reasons neither partner can clearly identify. Patterns of manipulation also emerge from silence. When communication weakens, assumptions increase. Partners begin filling the gaps with fear-based stories. They don't care. They're bored. They're changing. Something is wrong. These inner narratives then influence behavior. Jealousy rises, insecurity grows, tone becomes sharp, patience drops. And without clear, honest communication, these internal stories become emotional truths, regardless of how inaccurate they are. Manipulation doesn't require intention. Sometimes it is simply the result of someone trying to protect themselves from pain in the only way they know how. What makes this cycle so dangerous is its repetition. Communication breakdowns in relationships today often mirror patterns formed years earlier, or even generations earlier. People replay the same emotional habits their parents had, their exes had, or their childhood environment forced them into. And unless someone becomes consciously aware of the silent sabotage happening beneath the surface, they unintentionally carry these patterns into every relationship they enter. From this entire hidden story, 3 key takeaways emerge. First, emotional silence is not neutrality, it is disconnection disguised as peace. When things go unspoken, they don't disappear. They accumulate. Second, vulnerability is not a risk to the relationship. It is the oxygen that keeps it alive. Withholding emotions might feel safer, but it slowly suffocates connection. Third, small moments matter more than grand gestures. The way you respond to everyday conversations, emotional bids, and small moments of discomfort determines the long-term health of your relationship more than anything dramatic ever will. As we reflect on this silent sabotage, one truth becomes clear. Love is fragile, not because people are weak, but because connection requires constant, conscious presence. Trust can be lost through the accumulation of tiny emotional missteps. Intimacy can erode through the absence of authenticity, and 2 people can drift apart while still believing they're trying their best. If this helped you uncover the hidden patterns shaping your connection, then stay with this channel for more deep dives into relationships, communication, and emotional psychology. Your awareness is the first step to transformation, and there's so much more to explore.